think about this for a second. When's the last time you bought a coffee? Did you pull out cash, a credit card, or did you just tap your phone? It's amazing how fast mobile payments have become a part of our daily lives, right? It feels so simple, but what's going on in our heads when we decide to use our phone instead of our wallet? Well, that's a whole lot more complicated.
So that's the big question we're going to tackle. What really convinces us to do that? Is it just that it's easy? Or are there, deeper psychological factors at play when we decide to trust an app with our financial info? All right, let's get into it and see what the research has to say. Now, to figure something like this out, researchers don't just sit around and guess. No, they have a very specific set of tools they use to understand why we adopt new technology. You can think of it like a detective's kit for cracking the case of what we, the users, are going to do next. And that main tool, it's called the Technology Acceptance Model, or TAM for short. It's a total classic in this field. It's been around since 1989. And the reason it's stuck around is because it's so beautifully simple. It helps us predict if people are actually going to use a new piece of tech by looking at just a few key things. So for our investigation into mobile payments, our recent study zeroed in on these 4 crucial factors. You can basically boil them down to 4 questions we ask ourselves. 1, is this thing actually useful? Does it make my life better? 2, is it easy to use, or is it a huge pain? 3, what's it going to cost me, in money or even just time? And 4, the big one, can I trust it? So let's open up our case file. We're going to look at a study that took this exact model and applied it to a real-world group of people. This gives us an amazing snapshot of how people are thinking about mobile payments right now. The whole investigation focuses on 100 university students in Saudi Arabia. So you might be asking, why them? Well, it's because younger people, especially students, are often the first ones to jump on new tech. That makes them the perfect group to study. They were all given this really detailed survey, digging into everything they felt about mobile payment apps, from how handy they are to what their biggest security fears were. And just for a little context here, this is a quick peek at who was in the study. The group was made up of 80 male students and 20 female students. All right, the surveys are in, the numbers have been crunched, so let's get to the good part, the evidence. What did the researchers actually find out when they looked at all those answers? Okay, now this is really interesting. This table lays it all out so clearly. The first 3 things, how useful it is, how easy it is, and the cost, they all had a big positive impact on whether students wanted to use mobile payments. That'll make sense. But look at that last row. Trust. It had a positive link, sure, but it wasn't what we call statistically significant. And that is where this story gets really fascinating. So, first things first, the evidence confirms exactly what you'd probably guess. The tech just works for them. The students said these apps were genuinely helpful and super easy to use. It basically proves the #1 rule of tech. If you build something that actually makes life easier, people will use it. No huge shocker there, but it's a super important foundation for what we're about to find out next. Okay, but now it's time for the twist. Remember that little oddity in the data where trust didn't seem to matter as much as we thought it would? Yeah, this is easily the most interesting part of the whole investigation. The finding that just kind of flies in the face of what we all assume to be true. And this lays out the contradiction perfectly. I mean, we all think that being scared about security is a huge reason people wouldn't use these apps, right? We hear about data breaches constantly. But for this group of young, tech-savvy students, any worries they had about security and trust just weren't enough to stop them. And here's a quote right from the researcher. What they're saying is, look, it's not that the students aren't concerned about security. The concern is definitely there. But, and this is the key insight, that concern just wasn't a deal breaker. It didn't really affect their final decision to use the tech or not. And get this, there was another surprise hiding in the data. Sometimes other studies have found that potential costs can stop people from using a new service, but here, it was the exact opposite. These students actually saw mobile payments as being cost-effective. They saw it as a good financial move, which just gave them another really strong reason to jump on board. So we've looked at all the evidence. What's the final verdict here? And why should we care what a group of 100 students in Saudi Arabia think? Well, let's pull it all together, because it actually says a lot. Okay, so let's break down this verdict. The first couple of takeaways are the heavy hitters we expected. Making something useful, easy, and even cost-effective is a home run. But the real story is in those last 2 points. For this group, the fear about security, even though it was real, was not a deal breaker. Why? Because it was simply outweighed by the immediate, obvious benefits of convenience and value. And that's really the bottom line here.
It seems like for younger users especially, the promise of a simpler, faster, more convenient life is so powerful that it makes them willing to accept a certain amount of risk. That immediate reward of just tapping your phone and being done with it is way more compelling than some abstract potential problem down the road. And that leaves us with a pretty massive question to think about, doesn't it? If the chase for ultimate convenience is really the most powerful thing driving us to adopt new technology, what are we trading away to get it? And what does that all mean for the future of our privacy and our security in a world that's only getting more digital?